Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Irmen.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. You know what? I had somebody tell me the other day that they only listen to the Without the Bank podcast. They do not listen to Farming Without the Bank. And I don't care either way what you listen to, but there are things on both podcasts that are relevant. And a lot of it, I actually double up. But if there are things on farming that you have not listened to, as long as it's not all farming related, like sometimes I'll do something like that. Chances are there is something in that podcast as well that you can take away for the Without the Bank and vice versa. If you are listening to farming, but you're not listening to Without the Bank, there are still good things. Okay, so let's get into it today. I want to talk about what are the missing pieces when we look at business expenses. And when we look at what we can deduct or what we count as business expenses when we start running a business, typically those are usual, right? Oh, I need to have a phone. I need to have a desk. I need to have a computer, an office. Maybe we have employees, whatever that might be. And it does not matter. These are the things that I see missing most of the time. It doesn't matter if it is a business or if it's farming. Farming is a business, people. It doesn't matter. It is a bookkeeper. That is the one thing that I see missing a lot, is that small business owners will think, well, I don't need a bookkeeper. I can do it. Oh, I'll just do it at the end of the year. And the reason you're doing it at the end of the year is because you don't like doing it. This is one thing that I learned from Dan Sullivan, from Strategic Coach, that I think was a game changer for me, is that procrastination is not a negative thing. We are always told, oh, if you procrastinate, you're not dedicated. Well, guess what? I'm procrastinating because I don't like doing that thing. Think about it. If you find all these other things to do, instead of the one thing that you don't like doing, it's because you don't like it. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it right away. And so if you have the opportunity to hire a bookkeeper, do that. Now, not everybody has money to hire a bookkeeper. Let me tell you, when I started my business, I sucked at this because I absolutely hate bookkeeping. I don't mind looking at the numbers, but I don't like bookkeeping, doing the entry, trying to figure out QuickBooks. Not fun to me. And so if you're a small business, it's going to be small amounts of bookkeeping. It's not going to cost you that much. Besides, when you go to your accountant at the end of the year, he's charging more per hour than the bookkeeper does. So why don't you have the bookkeeper doing it? At the end of the day, it's probably going to cost you less money. And here's an example of what I'm talking about as well. There's a local guy that I've helped on and off a little bit with his business. And I told him, you need to hire a bookkeeper. You don't know where your finances are. How do you even know what you've paid for and what you haven't paid for? Now people are coming back to you and saying, you haven't paid. You're saying you have paid. You don't even know what job you paid on. You need to keep those records very, very clean. Hire somebody to do that. Well, he didn't listen. And so he got himself in one heck of a pinch because he had paid a whole bunch of people to work for him, and those people did not cash the checks, and he thought that they did. So all he was doing was looking at his account balance, thought he had a bunch of money, paid a bunch of stuff off, checks got cashed, no money. Paid a bunch of stuff off. What are we going to do now? We can't go back and get the money back for what we paid stuff off for. Again, that's why liquid money is important. And so if he would have done the one thing I told him to do, which is go hire a bookkeeper, it would have saved him. He is now 3 years in and he is just getting himself out of that debacle. A bookkeeper wouldn't have cost you that much money. You would have then been able to look at your books, or even just in his case, subtract it in an old-fashioned account, right? Or old-fashioned bookkeeping ledger. Do make sure that your bookkeeping is done. Add it to one of your business expenses, okay? The second one is life insurance. Yes, life insurance should be, you can't expense it as a deduction, but it should be part of the cost of doing business. Because if you die, your family needs to be taken care of. Your business partners need to be taken care of. This is like the one thing that we miss. We're all worried about health insurance. When are we all going to get sick? Maybe when we're old, but while we're young, typically not. And so we worry about health insurance. We worry about liability insurance. We worry about all the other insurances in the world. We even have accidental insurance before we will have life insurance. Life insurance is the cost of doing business. Because if you own that business, there is a cost to you passing away. Is there expenses that have to be paid? Are there business partners that have to be bought out? Is there a family that needs to be taken care of? There's a lot of stuff to think about there. Life insurance, the cost should be an expense, automatic what you need. Third, payroll. I don't care if you are the only person in this business. You need to pay yourself and figure that in. Because if you're not paying yourself, when are you ever going to get to pay yourself? If we don't actually write ourselves a check, how do we know that we're making enough money to do so? If we're not able to pay ourselves, then we're not making enough money and we better change something within our business. What are we doing in the business and why isn't the business making money? If it's the first couple of years of the business, okay, you're a startup. I get it. It is tough to be paying yourself at that point. But if we're 7, 8, 9, 10 years into this business or better, and we aren't paying ourselves, why? Why aren't you paying yourself? Even if you're taking a distribution out of your company because it's an S Corp, why isn't there a steady income coming in? I want a steady income coming in so that if something happens, you have the money to do that. And the fourth thing is make sure you have the money for an accountant. Put that into your expenses as well. You have the bookkeeper, make sure you also have the accountant. And put them in because, yes, you may have to pay your accountant. I am very lucky my accountant does not charge me that way. It's just a flat fee. Some accountants charge hourly. I personally don't like that. I think that is stupid because then all of a sudden there's no personal connection with your accountant because I sure the shit am not going to pay $120 an hour to ask my accountant how hunting's going or ask my accountant just how life in general is going. And I don't want him to be asking me those questions at $120 an hour, okay? So I like the flat fee accountants, but make sure you're using them in tax planning. And don't wait until you just get to the very end of the year and go, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I guess I don't have time to figure anything out, so I'm just going to put money into an IRA and figure it out later. Well, you can't figure that out later because you have the 10% penalty. So make sure your accountant is part of your plan and an expense. If he's charging you hourly, budget that into your expenses. These are the 4 things that I just don't ever see people doing. They will make sure that they expense everything else. They will make sure to budget everything else in, but they skip these things because they think they're too expensive. They're not too expensive. What's expensive is not doing one of those 4. That's what's going to get you caught with your pants down. Okay? No one wants to be out there caught with the pants down. So make sure you're doing them because you don't have the 3 years to fix the problem of not doing the one tiny little thing. Okay, that's it. That was short and sweet, you guys. I didn't even drag that on too long. Just make sure you're emailing me with any kind of questions, comments, concerns. I got 2 good ones this week. Holy moly. Another agent telling somebody they know something about, infinite banking. I can do that, and trying to sell somebody an indexed universal life. If you don't know how much I hate those, just go back a few podcasts where I did a whole episode on indexed universal life. And if you want to hear the German passion flowing, you'll hear it in that podcast, I'm certain. Because I cannot stand those things. I read the email at 8:30 in the morning and I was pretty angry. Because that's not infinite banking and it's not whole life, which I'm sure is what the person asked for. Yet, from a company that can produce a whole life policy. I tell ya. Okay, let me know comments, questions, concerns. Let me know if I need to look at an illustration. I had one of those this week as well. Let me know if I need to look at an illustration. It may take me some time to get there, but I will try to look at it. And it's not going to be like this I'm not going to take an hour to go over everything. Okay. I'm going to do a quick view. Make sure that there are some basic things there. If they're not, you're going to hear back from me. Either way, you'll hear back from me, but you will hear my 2 cents on the matter. Okay. Let me know if you need anything. If you haven't gotten the books yet, get the books. If you are a client, we will have that link. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, the link to register for the client only Black Sheep Summit is what we are calling it. The client only Black Sheep Summit in San Antonio. Conference tickets should be available by the time that this airs. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, guys, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.